Good afternoon, Scott Baker.
Mikey Ames, how are you? 3 o'clock Eastern time for another edition of Lead Better. The other day we were talking about identity. I meant to mention this in that conversation, but it kind of applies here. So I know this guy, and he's got a big following online, but he posts an idea that I think could be useful here. And the heuristic is this: if your life, and I'm meaning you, Mikey, so just we all can think about this. If your life were a movie, what would people in the audience be shouting at the screen?
Yeah.
Right? Now, they might be going like, "Go for it, you're on the right," or they might be going like, "No, don't, no, she's wrong for you," or the basement, don't go down, the serial killer, all of that. Now, all right, I think that's a good heuristic. I like doing that, thinking about that for myself. It's a main
like
character energy
well.
question.
I don't know if Donald Miller is the person you're referring to, but he has a similar kind of sentiment in saying, lean into the idea that you're the hero in your own movie. Go ahead and lean into it. And then ask yourself, are you doing hero things, right? Are people, if you're watching this movie, are you doing anti-hero things that people don't like?
Yeah. So the heuristic of the audience shouting is, can people outside of you see something that you're totally missing because you're just plundering along, and you would wish that somebody would tell you. So the question here, because the field note today, the title is Tune into the 5 Lead Indicators of Team Health. Now, I think with my heuristic about what would the movie audience be shouting at you is a much more energizing way to get into this topic than tune into the 5 lead indicators of team health. So my question is, if you had a basketball team, well, there's 5 indicators, I'm thinking 5 people, but if you had a basketball team, if you had a family, if you had a division you were responsible for, whatever it is, if you're saying, this is our team, we're doing great, and you're looking at it and she loves this guy and he's great and we're all getting along and this is the new person and everybody's a big happy family. And if everybody was watching this from the movie theater, they'd be going like, oh, you don't see how they're talking about you behind your back. Oh, do you see how she's actually resisting this? Do you see how that person's backing out of this? Do you see the conniving that's going on here? You're missing the whole thing, right? So that's my question is, can we, in this conversation, help bring these 5 elements of team health so that we're kind of putting you into the seat in the audience to say, oh, wait a minute. As a leader, I might have bigger problems than I think.
Right. No, I think that you might look at these 5 things, which I think are all great, but the 5 things that we have listed here are all things that you could be like kind of relativistic and feel like, oh, they respond. So the first one, we just need to get into it. The speed of response, like how quickly people get back to you. Is it in the same calendar
within
day?
that team? Yeah.
Do you have a reputation inside of your team that people respond within a few minutes? Do they get back to you right away? So what is slow and what is fast kind of needs to be defined, because I could see some leaders justifying like, we're fine, right? Because their version of speed is very different than my version of speed.
Right. Yeah. So. Well, and you might be in a culture where the speed of response also affects the culture, the hierarchy, the status. Then I'll give you an example. You can tell me if I've used this in the years of our discussions about these things. I don't think I actually have, though, which is I was once on a call, a conference call that involved a major talent agency, right? One of the big ones. And so there's a lot of high-powered Hollywood kind of talent. Now, they represent people outside of Hollywood and everything else, but you know the stereotype, right? You've got that picture in your mind. And call's going to start, let's say it's 3 o'clock. And so there's one person, a client, there's another person, there's an advisor, there's me. And we know there's going to be three of the agents who all work for this same firm. They might have offices next to each other. I don't know. The biggest thing was none of the agents got on the call. Their assistants got on the call. And it took about 20 minutes. And I learned later that this is normal because the assistants are waiting to tell their boss that it's okay to get on the call because the other guys are now on the call so that person can get on last, because whoever gets on last is the most important. Right. And so you can imagine some people like, okay, I got this request from somebody on the team, but I'm a little busy. Now, you might say that would never happen, but I've seen this happen in organizations where it's like, can we talk about this? Yeah. Can you check my calendar? Can you go on to my Calendly, talk to my assistant and see if you can get some time? We're going to have to do this in a week or two, right? And there's a little positioning like that. And you go, can we just have a 5-minute phone call? Right. So you start to get this feeling like, how is the cohesion here? Or is it just a power dynamic? Now, have I overanalyzed your point?
Maybe a little bit, but I don't think so. Because the main thing is, right, the idea of like, if status is the first thing that people are concerned about, and the way that they, like, instead of the content of the phone call, is like, we need to make sure that that my status is firmly established as the most important person here. And if they can't get out of that, right, that realm, so that like they sometimes find themselves accidentally telling their best friend to check with their people, right?
Right.
Because I'm not going to be doing that.
Right.
You have to, because I'm not going to follow up with you. I'm not going to put a calendar event down on my own calendar, much less your calendar. So all of a sudden you're doing this status thing with the kids that you grew up in high school with, right? And it's like, it's kind of crazy. So there is a leading indicator there on that kind of thing. And I like that story. I've not, you see it kind of portrayed in movies that the president is always waiting for you. But even when you pick up the phone, it's never the president there. It's his secretary saying, stand by for the president.
Stand by for the president.
Right.
And we would all actually be like, yeah, I hope the president isn't waiting around, or whoever it might be that's the top of the of the food chain for you, to be like, yeah, wait till I make sure you've reached me, then get that person on the phone. So what I was saying here is speed of response is these are all leading indicators, and we didn't quite set up the lead and lag part. But the idea here is actually really helpful, which is a good team might respond very quickly to each other. But it's also not just a delay in response. It's like if there's a lot of politicking around the response and all of that, that can be a bad sign. And it's a healthy sign that even if I can't get right back to you, I get back to you and say, I can't help you right now. Can we do this Tuesday afternoon? Like, even if it's like that kind of a communication to a client, but also within the team. But let's get to the second one. So ratio of clarifying questions. So Mikey, what do we mean by clarifying question?
Well, there's a good example right there.
Yeah. All right.
But the idea of, just setting the table, a leader just allowing questions to come at you. We were just in a meeting here where our leader responded to a question that was asked in the middle of the initiative that they were setting up. And they're taking the team lead on it. And the question that was asked was responded to like we're upset that question. It's like, nope, I'm just interpreting all the questions that are coming your way. And then the leader responded, I'm not upset at you. I'm not upset at you for asking that question. It just chides me when I get that kind of answer from so many other people, or that kind of question coming at me. And so it's funny to like, the insight there is like, if you've got a healthy team, it's going to be more frustrating for you, right? Like yesterday's field note was about having independent thinkers. Was that yesterday?
Yeah.
But the more independent thinkers you have on the team, the more time you're going to have to spend clarifying, defining, justifying your own position, right? If it's a team full of yes men, then you don't have to worry about any of that, right? So it is a healthy team that asks lots of questions, and they probably are going to range into the territory of dumb questions as well, right?
Yeah.
And so my question back for you on this particular one is like, when it crosses the line from a good clarifying question into an actual dumb question, then do you allow for that, or do you start trying to redefine what is a good question or not?
Yeah. Yes.
Because I've got someone in my family who constantly asks what the rest of the family calls dumb questions, right? And I just recognize that it's just their way of having conversation in the way that a 3-year-old practices talking.
Sure.
Right. So this person is not 3 years old. They've aged out of that behavior, but they're still practicing it.
They're still, yeah, right.
And so it's almost like I have to tell the rest of the family, they're just practicing talking. They're just practicing using
Right.
those words. So
So
don't get
help them.
frustrated.
Yeah, right. Now, you talked about the field note from the other day, and you said it was yesterday, and it wasn't. Now, the important thing, must have been the day before. But the next clarifying or sign of team health is called mistake acknowledgement.
Yes.
So I'd like you to acknowledge
Right. No,
the mistake.
that's not
you made.
mistake. What would that be called? Mistake enforcement acknowledgement? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm enforcing that. Like you did it. Yeah, right.
Yes. And this comes straight out of high performing teams that we
Sure.
know
Yeah.
that are quick to like want to point out that like I don't want to suffer the embarrassment of you calling out my mistakes. So I'm definitely going to be the one who raises their hand and say, just want to call this out ahead of time. And high functioning teams all seem to operate in that kind of way. And it's kind of uncanny.
Yeah. And we have one, I mean, we have a not unfamiliar one, but it's certainly a little more detailed in our main behavior platform that I'm not using it out of context here, but it still fits here and I think it's fine to use, which is the Blue Angels, after they do one of these tight formation flying shows, their pattern is they go immediately into their own review. And again, these guys they're flying like next to each other by, very tight margins, very high speeds. Any particular mistake could be deadly for everybody. So what they do when they go in, they call their own faults. And so, and I think they call the flight leader boss. So there's kind of this thing where it's like, boss, I got to call my, at 2 minutes and 17 seconds, I was this much speed too fast or too slow, or I was 3 inches too close to this, whatever the way they describe that in very detailed aeronautical terms that I may not even understand. Right. They point it out right away. Like, were you that observant? Because you're going to call your own fault, but everybody in the team is going to call their faults too. But the whole point is that we're all going to get better and that we have to get better or we're dead.
Right, right. Okay, so it brings up in my mind these first three that we mentioned. This is about healthy teams. We switched when you started talking about the Blue Angels into more like a high performing team, right? So what if the Blue Angels are not a healthy team, but they're still high performing?
Right. So you can be high performing, but there's a lot of discord in the background.
Right. Right. And
yeah.
so and that discord, a lot of people might read as a lack of health.
Yeah.
Right. But it's possible, or a lack of high performance, right? But there's a lot of maybe these two things are, maybe it's a 4-quadrant kind of box that we have here going on.
Yeah, right? It could be. They could be beating each other up and we don't know it. And then they're the Black and Blue Angels.
Right.
So I think that you could be it's possible. And you could have people that are high strung and edgy and like hard to get along with, but it might actually still be okay that they still could be healthy. I think you can actually we all have different personalities and some people are a little more abrasive than others. And you can envision scenarios where really high stakes, high adrenaline performers bring a little more edge to the game. And you just have to have some tolerance for that.
Yeah, right. So this word health is it's carrying water for us on both sides of the relationship and results scenario that we usually talk about.
Right. I don't think we generally want our Blue Angels team in our own minds to be like at the yoga retreat where they're all sitting in the lotus position and sharing their innermost thoughts.
Right.
They can do that if they want to, but I don't think that's that's not how we necessarily envision that working. Right. But let's get to the next one. So this idea of credit distribution, and that actually does seem, that's one we'd be like, well, yeah, you want to be on a team where people say, hey, so-and-so did well, and let's give a shout out to this person. So I guess the question is there anything beyond the surface level that jumps out at you about the health of a good team and how they would do credit distribution that might be any different or deeper than what we would commonly understand?
I don't think specifically that way in the how. Like, I suppose that if it shows up naturally in the hallway in informal ways as much as it does in formal ways, then that actually will give you a better sense of it. But, part of my mind goes to, like, if I'm interviewing for a job at this company and I want to know whether or not it's a good environment, then these are the things that I look for. So if I'm sitting in a meeting that's a formal place and I hear credit distribution in the way that's described here, that might be great, but it's probably worth 10x that if you actually hear it in the hallway, as opposed to hearing it in a formal situation.
I think very, very much so. And I think that the one thing that this underlines for leaders in this field note is that sometimes the leader presumes that this is all happening. It's like, because they hear in a meeting, so-and-so helped me and this and that. And you think, well, that's just what's happening all the time. They're actually using it performatively.
Yes.
Right. They're using it. They're going to say, I'm giving credit because they're actually getting credit themselves because they're doing it in front of the crowd to share credit. It's not happening, on the street level or in the hallway.
Right.
So I think that's a really important thing.
There definitely is a status level. If I'm the first one who calls out, let me recognize this person, this person, this person, you're inadvertently kind of saying, I'm the team leader here. Right. And so if you didn't do anything, but you're the one to kind of explain the good job that everybody else did, if you don't know how to read through that properly, that kind of thing could actually the sign of not a lot of health in your organization.
Look, and we're over time because I told long stories, but the last one we'll just mention is unsolicited contributions. So, and this is really, are you stepping up to go above and beyond to do the thing that's extra, that you're helping out the team before somebody asks you, before the leader leans in, you're noticing things, and you're that kind of person. Is that common among everyone on the team? If that's happening, that's a leading indicator that you have a healthy team.
Right. No, it's a good list of 5, and it can be used in a couple different ways, right? But I think it needs to be more than just a leader wondering, do I have a healthy team? I think it needs to show up in more practical ways.
Dynamite.
All right. Thanks very much.